My family kicked me out when I was poor. Now I'm rich and they want me back. Hey Reddit, buckle up because this is going to be a long one. I've been lurking on this sub for months, reading all your stories about toxic families and narcissistic relatives, and I finally decided to share my own journey. It's been 3 years since everything went down, and I think I'm finally ready to tell this story. For context, I'm Marcus, 34 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon. This story involves my parents Kevin and Linda, my older sister Jessica, my younger brother Tyler, and my now wife Emma. There are also some extended family members who play important roles: my uncle Vincent, Aunt Patricia, and cousin Samantha. 3 years ago, I was working as a junior graphic designer at a small marketing firm. The pay was terrible, barely $35,000 a year, but I loved what I did and believed things would get better eventually. Emily Ann I had been dating for 2 years, and we were living in a tiny studio apartment that cost us nearly half my monthly income. We were struggling, but we were happy and supporting each other through everything. My family, on the other hand, has always been obsessed with appearances and financial success. My dad, Kevin, owns a successful plumbing business, and my mom, Melinda, works as a real estate agent in the wealthy part of town. They live in this huge house in the suburbs, drive expensive cars, and constantly talk about money and status symbols. My sister Jessica followed in their footsteps. She's a lawyer married to another lawyer, and they make over $200,000 combined. My brother Tyler works in finance and makes 6 figures fresh out of college. Then there's me, the family disappointment who chose to pursue art and creativity over financial stability. The breaking point came during Thanksgiving dinner in 2021. Emily and I showed up to my parents' house, and I could immediately feel the tension. We couldn't afford to bring an expensive bottle of wine like everyone else, so we brought a homemade apple pie that Emily had spent hours making. My mom, Melinda, barely acknowledged it and made some passive-aggressive comment about store-bought being more reliable. During dinner, the conversation turned to money as it always does. Jessica was bragging about her latest case and the bonus she received. Tyler was talking about his investment portfolio, and my parents were discussing their plans to renovate their already perfect kitchen. When they asked about my work, I mentioned that I was hoping to get a raise soon and maybe start freelancing on the side. That's when my dad, Kevin, lost it. He slammed his hand on the table and said, "Marcus, you're 31 years old and you're still living like a college student. When are you going to grow up and get a real job?" I tried to explain that I was working on building my career and that these things take time, but he cut me off. "You're embarrassing this family," he said. "Look at your siblings. They're successful, they own homes, they contribute to society. What do? You make pretty pictures on a computer." Emily tried to defend me, saying that I was talented and hardworking, but my mom, Melinda, just rolled her eyes. "Emma, dear, you're enabling him. Marcus needs to face reality. Art is a hobby, not a career." The argument escalated quickly. Jessica chimed in, saying I was being selfish by wasting my potential, and Tyler mentioned that his friends were embarrassed to hear about his unemployed brother. I wasn't even unemployed. I was just underpaid. Finally, my dad delivered the ultimatum: either you quit this art nonsense and get a real job by New Year's, or don't bother coming around here anymore. We're tired of being associated with failure. I stood up, grabbed Emma's hand, and we left without saying another word. True to their word, my family completely cut me off after New Year's came and went, and I didn't quit my job. They blocked me on social media, wouldn't answer my calls, and returned the Christmas gifts I had spent my last $200 buying for them. The worst part was how they turned the extended family against me. My uncle Vincent, who I had always been close to, stopped inviting me to family gatherings. My Aunt Patricia, who used to send me birthday cards, acted like I didn't exist. Even my cousin Samantha, who I had helped through her college art classes, suddenly became too busy to return my messages. Emma's family, thankfully, was incredibly supportive. Her parents Maria and David welcomed me with open arms and treated me like the son they never had. Her brother Jake became like a brother to me, and her sister Sophie always made sure we were included in family events. They weren't wealthy. Maria worked as a teacher and David was a mechanic, but they were rich in love and acceptance. 4 months, I was devastated. I questioned everything about myself and my choices. Maybe my family was right. Maybe I was being irresponsible. Maybe I should have just gotten a real job and given up on my dreams. Emily never once made me feel bad about any of it. She worked extra shifts at the coffee shop where she was a manager, and we cut back on everything we could. Ramen noodles became our best friend, and date nights meant watching Netflix and sharing a bag of microwave popcorn. In early 2022, something amazing happened. A local startup called TechFlow Solutions was looking for a brand designer, and they found some of my work online. The CEO, a guy named Daniel Rodriguez, was impressed by my portfolio and brought me in for an interview. Daniel was nothing like my family. He was young, creative, and passionate about building something meaningful. He offered me $55,000 to start, not amazing, but a significant improvement, and promised that if I helped build the company, I'd be rewarded accordingly. I threw myself into the work like never before. I designed their logo, their website, their marketing materials, their app interface, everything. I was working 60-hour weeks, but I loved every minute of it. Emily supported me completely, even when it meant I was too tired to do much else. Within 6 months, TechFlow Solutions landed 3 major clients, largely thanks to the professional image I had helped create. Daniel promoted me to creative director and gave me a $15,000 raise. More importantly, he offered me equity in the company. By the end of 2022, we had grown from a team of 5 to a team of 25. I was making $85,000 a year plus bonuses, and Emily had been accepted to nursing school. We finally moved out of our studio apartment and into a real one-bedroom place. 2023 was the year everything changed. TechFlow Solutions got acquired by a major tech company for $50 million. As one of the early employees with equity, I received a payout of $800,000. Suddenly, Emily and I went from struggling to pay rent to having more money than we had ever imagined. The first thing we did was pay off Emma's student loans. Then we bought a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. Nothing too flashy, but comfortable and ours. I also started my own design consultancy on the side, working with other startups and small businesses. Emily graduated nursing school and immediately got hired at Portland General Hospital. Between my corporate job, my consultancy, and her nursing salary, we were doing better than we had ever dreamed possible. But the best part wasn't the money, it was the validation. All those years of my family telling me I was a failure, that art wasn't a real career, that I was embarrassing them. Suddenly none of that mattered. I had proven them wrong in the most spectacular way possible. Word travels fast in families, especially when money is involved. I'm not sure how they found out about my success. Maybe through social media, maybe through mutual acquaintances, but by late 2023, the messages started coming. It started with my cousin Samantha. She sent me a text out of the blue. "Hey Marcus, I saw your new house on Instagram. It's gorgeous. We should catch up soon. I've been working on some art projects and would love your professional opinion." Professional opinion. The same person who had ghosted me for 2 years suddenly wanted my professional opinion. Then came my brother Tyler. He called me and acted like nothing had ever happened. "Hey bro, how's it going? I heard you're doing well with your business. Maybe we could grab lunch sometime. I've got some investment ideas you might be interested in." Investment ideas. Of course. My sister Jessica was more direct. She showed up at my office unannounced, dressed in her expensive suit and flashing her fake smile. "Marcus, I've been thinking about you so much lately. I heard about your success, and I'm so proud of you. Family should stick together, you know? Maybe we could work together. I know some businesses that need rebranding." The audacity was breathtaking. But the real prize was my parents. My mom Melinda called me on a Tuesday evening, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Marcus, honey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I've been thinking about you every day. Your father and I would love to have you and Emily over for dinner this weekend. We miss you so much." When I didn't respond immediately, she continued, "We're so sorry about that silly argument we had. You know how your father gets when he's stressed about work. We never stopped loving you, and we're so proud of what you've accomplished." Silly argument. 2 years of complete silence and rejection was just a silly argument. Against my better judgment and Emma's strong protests, I agreed to have dinner with my parents. I was curious to see how they would handle the situation, and part of me hoped that maybe they had genuinely realized their mistakes. Emily and I showed up at their house, the same house where I had been humiliated and disowned. Everything looked exactly the same, except now I could afford something twice as nice if I wanted to. My parents were laying it on thick. Dad Kevin kept patting my back and calling me son, something he hadn't done in years even before our falling out. Mom Melinda kept gushing about how successful and handsome I looked. Jessica and Tyler were there too, of course, both acting like we were best friends who had just seen each other yesterday. Jessica brought her husband Michael, who kept trying to give me his business card. Tyler brought his girlfriend Ashley, who seemed uncomfortable with the whole situation. She was probably the only honest person there. During cocktails, my dad started his performance. You know, Marcus, I always knew you had it in you. I was never really worried about your career choice. I knew you'd make it work eventually. The rewriting of history was stunning. This was the same man who had called me a failure and an embarrassment just 2 years earlier. In fact, he continued, I think our little tough love session is what motivated you to really apply yourself. Sometimes a father has to push his son to reach his potential. Tough love session. That's what he was calling it now. My mom chimed in, we never really cut you off, sweetie. We just wanted to give you some space to grow. We knew you'd come back to us when you were ready. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. She could see how tense I was getting. The conversation continued with them taking credit for my success in various ways. According to them, they had always been supportive, they had always believed in me, and they had certainly never disowned me. It was all just a misunderstanding that had gotten blown out of proportion. Then came the real reason for the dinner. Marcus, my dad said, now that you're doing so well, we think it would be great if you could help the family out a bit. Jessica and Michael are looking at buying a bigger house, but they need help with the down payment. Tyler wants to start his own investment firm but needs some seed money. And your mother and I are getting older. We could use some financial security for our retirement. There it was. They didn't want me back because they missed me or because they were sorry. They wanted me back because I had money now. I looked around the table at all of them, my parents, my siblings, my brother-in-law, and I saw them for what they really were. They weren't family. They were opportunists. I stood up from the table and asked everyone to listen carefully because I had something important to say. For 2 years, I began, you all treated me like I was dead. You didn't just disagree with my career choice. You completely erased me from your lives. You blocked me on social media, returned my gifts, and turned the entire extended family against me. My dad tried to interrupt, but I held up my hand. When Emily and I were struggling to pay rent, when we were eating ramen noodles every night, when we couldn't afford to heat our apartment properly, where were you? You didn't care if I was homeless or hungry. You only cared that I was embarrassing your perfect image. Jessica started to say something about family loyalty, but I cut her off. Don't talk to me about family loyalty, Jessica. You said I was selfish for wasting my potential. You said Tyler's friends were embarrassed to know they had an unemployed brother. Well, I was never unemployed, I was just poor. And apparently, that was enough for all of you to write me off completely. My mom started crying. Crocodile tears, obviously. Marcus, we made mistakes, but we're family. Family forgives each other. You're right, Mom. Family does forgive each other. Family also supports each other during hard times, believes in each other's dreams, and doesn't abandon each other over money. You failed on all counts, Tyler finally spoke up. Come on, Marcus, don't be so dramatic. We're here now, aren't we? We want to be part of your life again. I laughed, actually laughed out loud. You want to be part of my life now because I have money. If I lost everything tomorrow, how long would it take for you to disappear again? A week, a day. The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. Here's the thing, I continued. I don't need your validation anymore. I don't need your approval, your support, or your fake love. I've spent the last 3 years building a real family with people who care about me for who I am, not what I can do for them. Emily stood up and took my hand. We should go, she said quietly. As we headed toward the door, my dad made one last desperate attempt. Marcus, you can't just walk away from your family. We raised you. We gave you everything you needed to succeed. I turned back one final time. No, Dad. You gave me everything I needed to succeed in spite of you, not because of you. Emma's family gave me love, support, and acceptance when you gave me nothing but shame and rejection. They're my real family now, and with that, we left. The months following that dinner were both liberating and difficult. My family tried everything to get back in my good graces. They sent cards, flowers, and expensive gifts that I returned unopened. They showed up at my office and my house unannounced. They even tried to get Emma's family to intervene on their behalf, a strategy that backfired spectacularly when Maria and David told them exactly what they thought of their behavior. My Uncle Vincent eventually reached out with a genuine apology. He admitted that he had been wrong to cut me off and that he was proud of what I had accomplished. We've been slowly rebuilding our relationship, and I respect that he was man enough to admit his mistakes. My Aunt Patricia and cousin Samantha, however, continued to act like nothing had happened. They kept trying to insert themselves back into my life as if the past 3 years were just a bad dream. The most pathetic attempt came from Jessica. She sent me a long email explaining that she had been going through a difficult time in her marriage and had been taking it out on me. She claimed that she had always loved and supported me, and that she hoped I could find it in my heart to forgive her. The email ended with a casual mention that she and Michael were still looking for help with their house down payment. Even in her apology, she couldn't help but ask for money. Emily Ann, I got married 6 months ago in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by people who truly love us. Emma's family, my Uncle Vincent, some close friends, Daniel from TechFlow, and several colleagues who had become genuine friends over the years. It was everything we wanted. Intimate, meaningful, and filled with real love and support. My consultancy has grown into a full-fledged agency with 6 employees. I'm working with clients across the country, and we're booked solid for the next 8 months. Emily loves her job at the hospital and is already talking about going back to school to become a nurse practitioner. We travel regularly, we've invested wisely, and we're planning to start a family soon. More importantly, we're surrounded by people who genuinely care about our happiness and success. A few weeks ago, I got a message from Tyler. He had apparently started his investment firm with money borrowed from our parents, and it wasn't going well. He was facing some serious financial problems and wondered if I might be willing to help out, for old time's sake. For old time's sake. As if we had fond memories to look back on. I didn't even respond. The story doesn't end there, unfortunately. About 6 months after the disastrous dinner, I started hearing through Uncle Vincent that my parents were having serious financial problems. Apparently, Dad's plumbing business had been struggling due to increased competition and some bad investments. Mom's real estate sales had dropped significantly, and they were having trouble making payments on their oversized house and expensive cars. Jessica and Michael's marriage was also falling apart, partly due to financial stress. The house they wanted to buy had fallen through, and Michael had apparently been gambling away their savings. Tyler's girlfriend Ashley had broken up with him after seeing how he treated family, and his investment firm was indeed failing. In other words, the entire family that had disowned me for being poor was now facing their own financial crisis. The irony was not lost on me. Then came the really desperate attempts to reconnect. My mom Melinda started showing up at my office building, waiting in the lobby for hours hoping to catch me. When security finally asked her to leave, she started calling Emily at the hospital, crying about how much she missed her son, and begging Emilito convince me to talk to her. Emma, being the kind person she is, actually felt sorry for Melinda at first. But when Melinda started asking about our financial situation and hinting that family should help each other during tough times, Emily quickly realized what was really going on. The most ridiculous incident happened when Jessica showed up at our house at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night, drunk and sobbing. She banged on our door for 20 minutes, screaming about how I was heartless and selfish for abandoning my family in their time of need. Our neighbor called the police, and when they arrived, Jessica tried to tell them that I was illegally keeping money that belonged to the family. The officers quickly realized she was intoxicated and not making any sense, but they asked me if I wanted to press charges for harassment. I didn't, but I did get a restraining order. Through Uncle Vincent, I learned the full extent of what had been happening behind the scenes during my disownment period. Apparently, my family hadn't just cut me off, they had been actively sabotaging me. When I was first starting to get freelance clients, my dad had actually contacted 2 of them claiming to be my business partner and demanding payment for work I had done. When the clients couldn't reach me directly, because they only had my dad's contact information, they assumed it was some kind of scam and canceled their contracts. Jessica had been telling people at networking events that I was unstable and unreliable, effectively trying to damage my reputation in the local business community. She told several potential clients that I had mental health issues and couldn't be trusted with important projects. Tyler had been even worse. He had created fake social media accounts and left negative reviews for my freelance work on various platforms. When I was struggling to get new clients, I couldn't understand why my online presence was so poor despite having good work samples. Now I knew. My mom had been the orchestrator of the extended family boycott. She had called every relative and told them that I was on drugs, that Emily was a bad influence, and that anyone who associated with me was enabling my destructive behavior. In other words, they hadn't just disowned me. They had actively tried to destroy my career and reputation to prove they were right about my life choices. When Uncle Vincent told me all this, I was beyond angry. I was furious. These people hadn't just failed to support me, they had actively worked to ensure I would fail so they could feel justified in their treatment of me. Armed with this new information, I decided it was time to set the record straight. I gathered all the evidence I could find. Screenshots of the fake reviews, emails from confused clients, witness statements from people who had heard Jessica's lies at networking events. I considered legal action, but ultimately decided that the best revenge was simply living well and letting everyone know the truth about what kind of people my family really were. I wrote a detailed post on LinkedIn explaining everything that had happened, the disownment, the sabotage, the recent attempts to reconcile now that I had money. I didn't name names directly, but anyone who knew me personally could easily figure out who I was talking about. The response was overwhelming. Dozens of colleagues, clients, and business contacts reached out with support and their own stories of toxic family members. Several people mentioned that they had heard negative things about me from family members years earlier but had chosen to judge me on my actual work instead. Most importantly, the post connected me with other entrepreneurs who had overcome similar obstacles. I started getting invited to speak at events about resilience and building success despite adversity. Within a week of the post going up, I had 3 new high-paying clients and 2 speaking engagements. The very reputation my family had tried to destroy had actually become a source of strength and inspiration for others. About a month after my LinkedIn post, I got an unexpected visitor at my office. It was my father, looking older and more defeated than I had ever seen him. "Marcus," he said, "we need to talk." I was tempted to have security escort him out, but something about his demeanor made me curious. I agreed to give him 10 minutes. "I know you hate me," he began, "and you have every right to. I know what Jessica and Tyler did to sabotage your business. I know about the fake reviews and the lies to potential clients." I was surprised he was admitting it so directly. "I also know," he continued, "that I was wrong about everything. Your art career, your choices, your relationship with Emma. I was wrong about all of it." He paused, looking down at his hands. "I spent so many years defining success by money and status that I forgot what actually matters. I lost my son, my talented, creative, good-hearted son, because I was too proud and too stupid to see what was right in front of me." I remained silent, waiting to see where this was going. "I'm not here to ask for money," he said. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness, because I know I don't deserve it. I'm here to tell you that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the man you've become, the success you've built, and the way you've handled all of this with more grace and dignity than any of us deserved." He stood up to leave, then turned back. "Your mother and I are probably going to lose the house. Jessica and Michael are getting divorced. Tyler's business is failing, and he's struggling with depression. We're all paying the price for our choices, and that's exactly what we deserve." He paused at the door. "But you should know that seeing you succeed despite everything we did to try to stop you, it's made me realize that you were the only one of us who had his priorities straight all along. You're a better man than I'll ever be, and Emma's lucky to have you." And then he left. I sat in my office for a long time after that conversation, processing everything he had said. It wasn't an apology exactly, but it was an acknowledgement of the truth and an admission of responsibility that I never expected to hear. That was 8 months ago, and I haven't heard from any of my family since then. Uncle Vincent tells me that my parents did indeed lose their house and are now renting a small apartment. Jessica's divorce was finalized, and she's had to move back in with our parents. Tyler closed his investment firm and is working at a regular financial planning office, making a fraction of what he used to make. Do I feel bad for them? Honestly, it's complicated. I don't take pleasure in their suffering, but I also don't feel responsible for helping them out of problems they created for themselves through their own choices and actions. Emily and I are doing better than ever. We bought a vacation home in the mountains, and I'm considering opening a second office in Seattle. Emily got accepted into a nurse practitioner program and will start classes in the fall. Most importantly, we're surrounded by people who love and support us unconditionally. Emma's family treats me like blood, and we've built a strong network of friends who are like chosen family. If I could go back and change anything, I'm not sure I would. The experience of being disowned was devastating at the time, but it forced me to become stronger and more self-reliant than I ever would have been otherwise. It also showed me what real love and support look like through Emma's family and the friends who stood by me. I learned that family isn't just about blood relations. It's about the people who choose to love you, support you, and believe in you even when times are tough. I learned that success means different things to different people, and that true success includes being surrounded by people who care about your happiness, not just your bank account. Most importantly, I learned that you can't base your self-worth on other people's approval, even if those people are your family. The only person whose opinion of you really matters is your own, and the only success that matters is the kind that aligns with your own values and goals. Emily and I are planning to start a family soon, and we've already decided that our children will grow up knowing that love and acceptance are not conditional on achievement or financial success. They'll know that family means standing by each other through good times and bad, and that real success is measured by the quality of your relationships and the positive impact you have on the world around you. As for my biological family, I've made peace with the fact that some relationships can't be repaired. The damage they did, not just the disownment, but the active sabotage and years of emotional manipulation, went too deep to ever fully heal. But I'm grateful for the experience in a strange way, because it led me to build something better than I ever had before. My chosen family is stronger, more supportive, and more loving than my biological family ever was, even during the good times. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, whether it's family rejection, financial struggles, or people telling you that your dreams aren't valid, I want you to know that it's possible to overcome it all. It's possible to build something beautiful out of the ashes of rejection and disappointment. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, work hard for goals that matter to you, and never let anyone else define your worth or your potential. The best revenge really is living well, but more than that, the best life is one filled with people who love you for exactly who you are.